And I'm hoping that through our timeline and our PI, I can kind of address some of them. My data does not look like Christy's. I'll tell you that 100%. We are still working on it and in the middle of our PI. But I do have hopes that we can get to 3%. I like that. Okay, and sorry, mine's a little bit small, but this is Ogden's missed vent referrals. So we were really, really bad in 2021, 63%. And then I'll go through our timeline. But so recently we've been hovering around like 13, 15, this kinds of things. But something that Amber spoke to of that multidisciplinary approach, the thing that I'm really working on right now is including the ER. So like these quarters, these are all ER missed vent referrals, except there was one in the ICU that was a really weird situation that probably would have been a missed vent referral no matter what. And so that was huge to me too, of when Christy said, oh my gosh, this data isn't just ICU. That honestly took me like 3 quarters to figure out that it also included ER. And I was like, why aren't our numbers moving? What is going on? And so that's kind of the part where we are in a process improving a lot. But first quarter 2022, like I said, we've been working on this for years, which I love PI because it's like that. You're like, oh, I've got this plan. I figured it out. We're never going to have to do anything ever again. Like, we'll just keep doing this. Nope. There's always something new or different or a lot of changes or this updates or you have new people or a new generation of staff, right? And you have to change. And so you just build and build and build upon it. So the first thing that we did was actually just kind of knowing about it in first quarter 2022. And we started having regular collaboration meetings with Brian with Donor Connect. And then we also had him come and do detailed Donor Connect education with our ICU charge nurses. We thought, let's start with one small group, get them on board and help them understand what this is all about. And then in second quarter, we had him come to our ICU staff meeting, just starting with that education, which obviously was not enough. We needed to do more than just education. So we put, I'm going to show you some pictures of some of these things later too. But the next couple quarters, we put the Donor Connect triggers on our multidisciplinary round forms. So every day in multidisciplinary rounds in the ICU, they're going through those triggers with the physician. And then we also got them all the badge buddies. So we have a welcome packet for all of our nurses when they come. And so like my PCU nurses will get different badge buddies than the ICU nurses, but all the ICU nurses will get a badge buddy that has the Donor Connect triggers with their welcome packet. So they have that from the beginning. First quarter 2023, MVR and Donor Connect PI ownership. So we got a new trauma director, Tina Draney. I'm telling you, I hope you're on the phone, Tina, and I'm embarrassing you like crazy. She is like the best director of a program I have ever worked with. Oh my goodness. We just had our trauma survey and there was like 3 opportunities was all. Like, she's amazing. Anyway, but she had the foresight to be like, Megan, I don't know why we were owning this before. Like, trauma was owning Donor Connect and they were the main liaison with Brian and those kinds of things. And she's like, most of the patients aren't trauma patients, so we're missing this. And it wasn't her being like, I don't want this job anymore. She's like, this isn't best for patients. And so that's when I really got involved and took over, was in first quarter 23 and started owning and looking and digging into everything. And honestly has made a big difference because again, like Tina's focusing on just trauma patients and a lot of these aren't trauma patients, but Tina still is at all of our meetings, highly involved, has great ideas. So that actually did help a lot. And then we added it to our critical care committee agenda. So then our medical director could get involved. This is when he really started understanding it, getting on board. We've had to have lots of conversations, honestly, with our physicians in a lot of different forums to get them on board, but they are now. It took a lot of time. Second quarter 23, I love this one too, and I have a picture later too of we had lunch and learns, not only with ICU, but also with our RT and our ED staff, because that's when we went live with our RT timeout process. It's kind of like your huddle, I think. But before we extubate, the RT is supposed to do a timeout procedure with the ICU nurse of, hey, have we called Donor Connect? Have we done all of these things before extubation? And so we did lunch and learns with all of those key staff members there, which again, I'll talk about in a minute. And then we added that timeout, which I'll show you later, to our RT flow sheet. And then we also got involved in our hospital quality council agenda. So the board of trustees, member sits on that, and a medical exec member sits on that as well. And so I present about our Donor Connect data every quarter on that also. And then fourth quarter, the misvent referrals started getting entered into our Vigilance system, and it looks like Brianna's going to talk about that more later. And then we started tracking the missed sentinel events if there were those missed opportunities for donation, and saying that we would do an SEA for one, if that is what happened. And then we also, this is like still new, we got a new ER director, and we just realized I really need to get them more involved in Donor Connect, because again, all of these fallouts are ER, except, and I will own that one, and I will own all of them. I own this program. But it's a totally different beast. Like the ER is so different. I love your diagnoses. We wrote them down, and we want to do them because it's completely different for them, a completely different mindset. I'm an ER nurse in background, and so I understand. But then this quarter, Robert's been really good about sending those fallouts in real time, which I love because I can educate my nurses in real time. Hey, what happened? Oh, okay, that makes sense. And I can figure out this barrier that I can eliminate quickly. And because they always have a reason why they didn't call, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, next time, make sure you do this or this or this, or let's change this in the process. When it wasn't real time, it was really hard. They're like, I don't even remember that patient, and I couldn't really fix things. So, and then so that created that timely follow-up. And then again, like I talked about, additional ED involvement and education. So something that comes from my patient safety director days is that when we're doing processes, we need to make it easy to do the right thing and make it hard to do the wrong thing, right? And so some of the things that I feel like made it easy to do the right thing in this that I really love, that came from all different minds, was, like I said, the triggers on the MDRs. So here's our Donor Connect triggers, and this is our multidisciplinary round paper that our nurses fill out every day that they go through with the physician when we do multidisciplinary rounds. And so it's right on there. They look at it every day, and they read them every day. So now they know them. My nurses can just tell you the triggers. They also have their badge buddy, but if I'm being honest, they probably don't look at it as much. But they really are looking at this all the time because they're updating it and going through it every day with the doctor. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good question. Honestly, a lot of family, and I don't know if it's our population or what it is, we don't have a lot of families in our MDRs. But when we do, the physicians have gotten pretty good at being able to speak about, you know, this is where we are at. It might be something that we want to get organ procurement involved, or, and like it kind of goes only that far in the MDR if the family's there, and then they can talk about it more and we can get them involved then. But you can do it. That's the other thing. I think the more you practice it, it comes more in a natural way, and then we know like where's our boundary and our border, because we don't want to say much because we're not trained. And then how do we get them involved in a natural way? So, but honestly, the MDRs often end up being a time where we have those discussions with family. And so, and I don't know, maybe ours look different than yours, but it works pretty well that way. So good question. Any other questions or anything? So there's our MDR form. Another thing that I felt like made it easy to do the right thing is we educate, and there's health streams and all these things and staff meetings. And if you guys know ICU and ER nurses, they don't want to be told anything. They want it to be their idea, right? And that's what makes them such good nurses, and I'm so glad. And I'm glad they have that personality. And probably we all do too. But one thing is when we did education in our staff meetings and more presentations, and I sent out videos, even like the ones that make you cry, there was still a lot of pushback, honestly, even from my nurses. And so something that was awesome is Robert came in and did lunch and learns and dinner and learns because he did it at shift change. And so he came in and he'd sit down and eat lunch. I think he got Cafe Rio, I don't know, something yummy, maybe Chick-fil-A. And they just came and they honestly came and asked questions. And it was a discussion. He still was able to give them all the main points. But then the RT came to those ones, and in the ER, I mean, if you're going to give nurses food, they will come. Give them food and they will come. And so he did that on, like I said, both shift changes, and we scheduled about 8. And so we hit everybody. We actually looked at the schedule to make sure we would hit everybody, and everybody was able to come in because some people stayed for like 20, 30 minutes. Some people stayed for 5. And so everyone was able to come. So I love that kind of education, and he's setting them up again to do, because it's been about, I don't remember in my timeline, maybe about 6 months or so. And so just to capture those new staff again. I love that too. Again, make it easy to do the right thing. Make it easy for our staff. They have so much. It's so easy to forget. Like Shami said, they are so busy, and it's because they're doing good things and they care about their people, and they don't want to not donate organs, you know, like they have great intent. And so let's make it so that they can make that intent happen. The last thing, I'm super excited about this. We're just working with Interform right now to get these made. But this is where I was like, okay, Spencer, sat down with my RT director, and I'm like, I feel like we're doing pretty good with the timeouts in ICU, and like it's part of the culture and all of that, but we still need to help the ED. And it's really hard because the ED is so busy and crazy in a different mindset. And obviously working with Cassie too, our ER director. But how can we help the RTs when they're in the ED be thinking about this, because their flow sheet, they're not using a flow sheet in the ER. That's for our ICU patients that are on vents for days. And so on each vent, we're putting this sticker that says stop, call donor connect before extubation. And it's just going to be like on the side, so it's not like right there in front of families, but to help the RTs when they're down in the ER, because they're also in that crazy mindset too, think about it before they extubate. And so again, we're still working on this process improvement. If I present next year, I'll have 5 more things that we change differently. And so I think it's cool that we're going to be able to break out with our individual facilities and figure out how we make it work for us. But these are just some of the best practices that we've done that have really helped a lot. Did we address all the barriers in some form or fashion? I love that you brought up that barrier, because at Ogden, that was one of the biggest barriers. Absolutely. And Brian and Robert can both attest to that. We have ICU nurse physicians. No, but seriously, they're very strong. And so before I became the director, the doctor actually wouldn't allow nursing to call at all. It had to be the physician. But we were able to show physicians' love language is data and statistics. And so showing them a lot of data and statistics of why this is important and how, and then also showing them your own data and statistics. So we were able to prove to, that was a prior medical director. I have a new one now that's a lot easier. But we were able to prove to him that we weren't causing any harm by the nurses calling. And so then he was on board with it. And so I think that's one way to help with the physician, speak their love language, which makes sense. They want to know it's best practice. So cool. Do you feel like without it being, because we actually discussed this for a while, so I'd love your guys' thoughts. We decided to actually put like Donor Connect on there because we didn't know if it would trigger them enough, or like if it was a new RT or a new nurse, if they'd really know what it was unless we spelled it out. But we felt like, I don't know if families will really know what Donor Connect is. So I think they would be okay, but I don't know if you guys have noticed that before we order our stickers. Yeah, I love that you pointed that out, because we actually, when we first implemented it, a timeout did happen more like that at bedside, like right before, and it was not good. And we had to do a lot of service recovery. And so from that, we were able to do it honestly more in MDRs. And when we're like, hey, there's a possibility we're going to extubate today, when we called RT and tell them, then they'll be like, hey, have you called Donor Connect? And so, but I love that too. Another point is, our favorite thing is to send the kudos back to the staff that you guys send us of how many people's lives we saved with every single donor. And so now we can send it back to the RTs. And like, we hadn't thought of that before, where it's honestly a multidisciplinary approach, and we can get everybody involved and excited and recognized for saving lives. So